kept them all in black. Alright, so we got a standard automotive windshield, right? We marked 3 different aiming points on the glass. We're going to shoot, the first round is going to be 62 grain, SS109, M855, standard issue green tip. That's what we use in the military. We have 55 grain palmetto jacket from Black Hills, and the third round is going to be the Black Ops 62 grain open tip frangible. And then what we have about 16 inches behind it, we just have a clean white target sheet so we can see what frag comes out the backside. Alright, so first round, standard issue 62 grain M855. Alright, so nice clean hole for the windshield, right? Impact slightly lower on the paper. Nice clean hole there, and a little bit of secondary projectiles probably from the glass. Alright, so I don't think the bullet's separated at all. Alright, next round, 55 grain full metal jacket, Black Hills. So once again, nice clean hole for the windshield. Looks pretty much the same as 62. However, there's definitely more secondary fragments. It looks like there's more larger holes through the paper, right? So we have definitely a pronounced impact, but then we have a bunch of secondary, which is probably the jacket fragmenting, and then also the small pinhole stuff's going to be the glass. All right, so the last round is going to be the Black Ops 62 grain open tip frangible at the same distance. So the first round, or the 62 grain, penetrated nice and clean, just like the previous 2 rounds. Since that's our last round, we're gonna go ahead and tilt this down. All right, so now obviously it tore the paper the most, but what does that mean, right? So let's tilt this up here. So you have one large hole, you have the secondary pinholes from the glass, and you have some larger pinholes around the main impact point. I suggest that could be those that compressed powder center.
I mean, looking at it, it's definitely something that you want on your side. You don't want to go against that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get shot with a 22 long rifle either. What I'm saying is, just because it tore the paper the most doesn't mean that necessarily it's the most destructive of the rounds, right? Like, the green tip obviously has the least amount of separation. The 55 grain had more secondary fragments from the copper jacket. And this, you know, I mean, aside from that sizable hole in the center, there's not much secondary fragmentation outside of the pinholes, right? So what's that? Last test we're gonna do is we set up steel about the same distance from the windshield that it would be if we were actually in a vehicle. So if I'm a little steel target here and I'm driving, it's about the same distance, right?
Yeah, it's about the same.
All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna shoot, and we're gonna see what the splash looks like on the steel. So it's gonna penetrate the windshield and continue on to where the driver would actually be.
Let's shoot this shit.
All right, so same distance as the previous 3 rounds, 1 round through the windshield. So this is a 62 grain open tip frangible. So our point of impact is right here, nice clean hold for the windshield. If you look at the steel looks like we shot with birdshot. I mean, it's definitely like a peppered pattern onto it. So you can see all the fine secondary missiles from the glass and from the fragmentation of the round. But I don't know about you, Burrs, but I didn't hear the steel sing like it usually does.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it ring.
Okay. All right, so we're both wearing electronic hearing protection. So when I hear the steel get slapped, I can usually hear the steel get slapped, right? I can hear it ring, right? Would you agree with that, Burrs?
Yeah.
All right. So I didn't hear any noise whatsoever from that shot, right? And if you look at we showed you the finite secondary missile pattern, that fine pattern of frange hitting the steel. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna shoot 2 rounds, 55 grain Black Hills, and then I'm gonna shoot 2 rounds of the Black Ops. And then we're gonna see what the difference is. I have the feeling you're gonna hear the steel sitting on the first 2 rounds, but you're not on the second 2 rounds. First 2 rounds, 55 grain, full metal jacket. Hear that ring?
Yep.
All right, so definitely two distinct impacts on the steel. You heard the ring?
To the first one where I was shooting and it didn't, the 62 grain black up.
All right, so those 2 rounds were on the right-hand side of the target. The next 2 rounds I'm gonna keep to the left-hand side of the target and try to have the shots on virgin glass, right? Sound like a little bit of a ring there. A little bit of ring. You see Black Hills there, there. That's a tough one, man.
I heard it ring on all of them.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you come out here and actually test stuff.
Center yellow circle, right? The bottom center target, yellow circle, target number 2. 3 rounds, slow fire, focusing on accuracy.
Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to come in here and look at the accuracy testing. Obviously when we shot it, it wasn't on an angle, but it is now because we set this up differently. So Murph, if you want to kind of go over the different shots we did, the different stuff we used, match grade and ball, etc.
Let's just go off the 3 best groups of the day for the 62 grain open tip frangible. So we had 1 shot group here, so boom, 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 and we had the shot group shot by Burrs, 1, 2, 3 right here. So those are definitely the 2 tightest shot groups of the day, right? Those 3 shot groups were accomplished shooting at 50 yards because that's the confines of my little range here, and that was from prone supported, right? So a good stable firing platform. I would definitely say that the worst shot group of the day, and this was actually later after we accomplished these, were these 3 rounds right here. So 1, 2, 3. As you can see, that's pretty good spread for 50 yards.
I shot that too. So the same
you shot that as well, same shooter, right? Yeah, 1 shot group that I shot here, which is 1, 2, 3. So actually keyholed 2 rounds at 50 there, which that was done with magnified 2.5 by 10 power Vortex. This shot group up here is, I think you shot this one as well, right? This one wasn't that terrible, right? So looking at these shot groups, they're hovering a little bit over 1 MOA for 50 yards. So a little bit over an inch at 50 yards. So would I call this a precision round? I don't think I would. We tested it in 2 different rifles and it failed to shoot sub-minute of angle. I mean, aside from that one, the only shot group that we got to the keyhole, the one I shot.
Yeah, these down here were kind of virgin on 1 MOA.
Yeah, these they're pretty close to it, but
we didn't really consistently get.
Yeah, it wasn't really like it was. Like I said, it wasn't consistent, so I wouldn't really look at it like match grade ammunition, right? So we tested it side by side next to Black Hills 55 grain remanufactured full metal jacket. So this is a 5-round shot group, I believe here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we had 3 keyhole with 2 flyers. That'll be your outtake there.
Yeah. Right, that's fine.
Right. So we have this 5-round shot group of Black Hills here. We also have another 5-round shot group of Black Hills up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with those 2 flyers a little bit low. So side by side through the same gun, same optics, same distance, same shooters. I want to say that that was shooting a little bit tighter and a little bit more consistently. Alternatively, down here we shot Gorilla 77 grain match, and the Gorilla at 50 out of the same guns shot very comparable to the 62 grain HPR. So like I said, I wouldn't necessarily say that HPR is match grade, but it's hovering around 1 inch at 50 yards, so maybe a little bit over, right?
Yeah.
Now, with all ammunition, your mileage may vary, right? So your particular setup, what kind of barrel you have, what kind of optic you have, what kind of trigger you have, your skill level as a shooter yourself, right? That's all going to determine your shot group.
The thing I saw though was the consistency. When I'm shooting Gorilla, which I've shot 500 rounds of that stuff so far, I don't have inconsistencies like that though.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good spread, but
we had 2 different boxes, so that might be 2 different lots of the HPR.
So long and short of it, I mean, like from looking at the company website, it seems like they're trying to sell it as a frangible round, right? They're trying to sell it as a round that's guaranteed to fragment. There's a time and a place for frangible. There's a time and place for penetration. For me personally, I'm always going to opt for the most accurate round that penetrates the deepest, right? Frangible, like I said, it has its place, but me as a recreational shooter and as a defensive shooter, I really don't have a concern. I don't really have a need for frangible ammunition. So, I mean, like, for certain individuals, that might be something that's desirable. It's not really something desirable for me, so I don't think I would. This would be my preferred round to stoke up my 30 round mag for my home defense AR.
Yeah, and the other thing we were talking about earlier was the fact that, you know, even if this is something for law enforcement and such, you could be going in, like you were talking about, you could be in a 7-yard situation, or you could be in a 50-yard situation at mall, etc. So the accuracy does come into play at that point.
And that's why I always opt for penetration over frangible. Like, I understand, like, people are like, well, I have kids in my house, you know, I have children down the hallway, and if I, you know, smoke a bad guy come up the hallway, if I miss, I don't want to put a round through that wall and potentially kill my child on the other side, right? There's all kinds of studies that show how terrible 5.56 as a whole is at going through different medias. But what I would say is this, is that I don't want a round that's going to fail to make it through a motorcycle jacket. You know, if it's winter time, the guy's wearing a puffy jacket, or he's wearing layers, you know, wool layers, nylon layers, motorcycle jacket might have Kevlar in it, or at the very least leather. That's going to affect the performance of a frangible round. It's going to affect the performance of a hollow point rounds. You know, it's going to vary. So, like, trying to find that perfect round, I know that's a quest that everybody's always on. Like, I want a round that'll penetrate a windshield. I want a round that'll penetrate a lot of different things. But, you know, can you have it all? Not really. You know, you got right tool for the job, right round for the task, is what I would say.
So the only thing we noticed today that was kind of out of the ordinary was a hard primer strike, failure to fire on the bullet's point, or on part of the bullet. What are your thoughts on that?
So yeah, the cartridge itself failed to detonate. It's definitely a deep strike on the primer, so it's not a light primer strike. It's a pretty deep divot in the primer. So that was kind of surprising based off the cost of the ammunition and the touted quality ammunition as being a potential duty round. So that was very surprising to me that occurred around 15, 16 rounds deep into our firing cycle. So that's a little bit alarming to me that you'd have a hard primer strike. I would say, you know, having shot a lot of different rounds over the years, like every couple thousand rounds you'll get a hard primer strike where the weapon did its part, the cartridge failed to do its part, it was just too hard of a primer, something went wrong with the primer. So I mean, for it being a potential duty or life-saving round, to make it not even one magazine deep and have that failure, that's kind of alarming to me. I mean, I understand that happens. We have very limited ammunition for what we...
Yeah, we got 2 boxes. They're gotten from 2 different places, so it could be 2 different lots.
Right.
But yeah, it is concerning that you buy 2 boxes and out of 33 bullets that we fired, 32 fired, and you know, this one didn't. And
like you said earlier, I mean, if we would have had more ammunition to test, like we had a full 1,000 round case of this ammunition to try, this might have been the one and only failure, right? Or if we had 5,000 rounds to fire, this still might be the one and only failure out of 5,000 or 10,000, whatever fictitious number we want to throw out there, right?
Yeah, and that kind of gets back to the price. I mean, $30 for 20 is more expensive than match ammo. You can get Black Hills. I mean, you get anything. I think for the most part, it's 5.56. I mean, like, that's less expensive than this.
Like match grade cheaper than this. So I mean, like, frangible ammunition isn't cheap, and since the projectile is designed to be frangible, it's a little bit more goes into manufacturing.
Yeah, a little more engineering.
A little bit more engineering. You know, a little bit more of a process. So I mean, overall, I would say as far as a frangible round, as a duty round, aside from that hard primer strike where we just had a tap rack bang, get out of the weapon and chamber a new round that you know, fired positively afterwards, and that was the only issue we had like that.
Yep.
I would say, like, regardless of what you're going to do with your ammunition, I would really suggest buying more than just what you want to stoke up your carry mags or your home defense gun with. I would buy extra and vet the ammunition, set up some different scenarios, like some different media. Like, if you are concerned about this going through drywall because you want to use it as a home defense round, you're worried about potentially hitting somebody in another room if you miss your target, then set it up if you can. You know, set up some drywall. If you're concerned about shooting through a windshield as a law enforcement officer, I would, if you get the opportunity to shoot through windshields, set up some auto glass, I would test and vet your ammunition before you stake your life on it.
Yeah, and the other thing is you can go to courses and, that are advanced courses that go through that stuff, and that's another good place to test out ammunition, to see how it works in a real world situation.
Yeah, I don't know of a single instructor, like if you say, hey, listen, I've been shooting ball ammo all day, but I have this, this high speed round I want to try out. Do you mind if I take a minute to do it? I don't think anybody's ever going to tell you no for that.
Yeah.
So, and that's the other thing is, like, there's a lot of really knowledgeable guys out there. Dudes more knowledgeable than me. Jared Ross from Rockwell Tactical, Matt Graham from Grand Combat, Matt Jacques from Victory First. You got Will Petty, who's doing his vehicle CQB thing right now. It's a course I went to a couple weeks ago. Dudes that have shot automotives, they've shot a lot of different forms of media, drywall, cinderblock, all these different things. Ask these guys the questions, like, hey, do you have any experience with this type of ammunition? Do you have any experience with frangible as a whole? It's always good to get as many points of view as possible from as many knowledgeable dudes as are available to you. So, I mean, that's one of those things. My default mode is if I don't have the ability to come out here and shoot ammunition and draw a personal conclusion, then I'll write emails, I'll make phone calls, and I'll ask questions when I'm standing there on the range.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, you were talking about buying more than what you need and then actually shooting it in your gun, I mean, you should be shooting your defense rounds at least on a yearly basis.
Whatever you carry for defense, you should verify works properly in your weapon.
Yeah.
And not more than this, like, boom, boom, like 2 rounds, like, oh, okay, it's good.
Yeah, you just buy it, cry,
and have peace of mind.
Yeah.
Have peace of mind to know that it's gonna do what it's supposed to do, and it's gonna function properly in your firearm.
Yep. All right, so if you guys are interested in this round and you want to test it out for yourself beyond what you've seen here, and if you're interested, $30 for a box of 20. They're in lots of different places, and if you want to check it out, Google is always your friend. Maybe I'll have a link down below if I can find it, whatever. If you guys have any questions or anything, let me know. If you guys have used this stuff, I would be really interested. I'm sure you would too, as far as comments, if you put them down there, how it's worked for you, or it doesn't have to be the 62 grain, it could be any of them. They're all the same thing as far as the Black Ops line goes. Put those comments down below, and until next time, later.
Potentially, I don't like any of that. It's fucking garbage. Do not make that the end of the thing.